The vast expanse of space was a canvas of twinkling stars, but amidst the serene beauty, a dark chapter was unfolding. In the shadowy recesses of the Stellar Council's Grand Assembly Hall, the alien leaders plotted the subjugation of the burgeoning human race. Michael Jackson, a young and idealistic human ambassador to the Stellar Council, stood before the imposing figures, his brow furrowed with concern. As the diplomatic representative of Earth, he had been tasked with navigating the delicate web of interstellar politics, but over the past few months, his role had taken on a far more ominous significance. Honored members of the Stellar Council, Michael began, his voice carrying a note of trepidation. I come before you today with grave concerns regarding the future of our relationship. The people of Earth have made remarkable strides in recent years, advancing their technology and culture at a rate that is both impressive and, I fear, unsettling to some of you. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats, their expressions hardening as Michael continued. We seek only to coexist peacefully, to learn from our neighbors in the cosmos, and to share the wonders of our world. However, I have detected disturbing whispers among your ranks. Whispers of conquest, of subjugation, of denying us our rightful place in the galactic community. A hulking, reptilian-like creature from the Vosrath Empire rose, its gaze narrowing. You speak of treason, human. The Stellar Council has always acted in the best interests of our collective civilization. We cannot allow any single species to disrupt the delicate balance we have maintained for millennia. Michael held his ground, his eyes burning with a mixture of determination and unease. I understand your concerns, but I assure you, the people of Earth pose no threat to the Stellar Council. We merely seek to explore the stars, to forge new alliances, and to contribute to the advancement of all civilizations. Surely there is room for cooperation and mutual growth. The alien delegates erupted in a chorus of dissent, their voices echoing through the cavernous chamber. Cooperation, spat a scaly-skinned creature from the Thulian hegemony. Ridiculous. Humans are impulsive, volatile, and unpredictable. They will only disrupt the careful order we have established. Michael felt his heart racing as the tension in the room escalated. I must implore you, honored members, to reconsider your stance. The people of Earth are not your enemies. We seek only to learn, to grow, and to contribute to the greater good of the galaxy. A tall, humanoid figure from the Ivarian consortium raised a silencing hand, its piercing gaze fixed on Michael. Your words are wasted, human. The Stellar Council has made its decision. Earth will be brought under our dominion, its resources and technology harnessed for the benefit of our alliance. Michael's eyes widened in horror as the realization dawned on him. You can't be serious. Subjugation, conquest, this is madness. The people of Earth will never submit to your rule. The Ivarian delegate's lips curled into a cold, unforgiving smile. Then they will be crushed. The Stellar Council has spoken, and our decree is final. Prepare your world, human, for the coming storm. Michael's world seemed to slow to a crawl as the gravity of the situation sank in. The Stellar Council, a body meant to foster cooperation and understanding among the galaxy's civilizations, had turned its sights on Earth, intent on dominating the human race. A wave of panic and dread washed over him as he realized the immense challenge that lay ahead. Mustering his courage, Michael straightened his posture and fixed the alien delegates with a defiant gaze. You will not succeed. The people of Earth are stronger, more resilient, and more determined than you can possibly imagine. We will not go quietly into the night. We will fight, with every fiber of our being, to defend our freedom and our way of life. The Ivarian delegate let out a cold, mirthless laugh. Brave words, human, but they will avail you not. The Stellar Council has set its course, and nothing, not even the stubborn defiance of your kind, will stand in our way. Michael's mind raced as he considered his next move. He knew he had to warn Earth, to galvanize its people and prepare them for the impending invasion. But the weight of the task ahead seemed almost insurmountable. Could humanity truly stand against the might of the Stellar Council's combined forces? As Michael turned to leave the assembly hall, a sense of foreboding gripped him. The future of his world hung in the balance, and he knew that the battle for Earth's freedom had only just begun. News of the Stellar Council's treacherous plans spread through Earth's governments and populace like wildfire, igniting a firestorm of outrage and determination. Michael Jackson's harrowing report from the Stellar Council's inner sanctum had painted a dire picture. Humanity's survival now hung by a thread. In the days that followed, world leaders from every corner of the globe convened in emergency summits, setting aside their differences and historical grudges. The time for petty rivalries had passed. The very future of their species was at stake. "The Stellar Council has left us no choice," declared President Elizabeth Davis, her steely gaze sweeping across the assembly of world leaders. "They seek to subjugate us, to strip us of our autonomy and our very identity. But we will not go quietly. We will stand and fight as one united humanity." Thunderous applause echoed through the chamber, a testament to the unwavering resolve of those present. Governments poured resources into a massive, coordinated effort, pooling their scientific and military capabilities to forge a formidable bulwark against the impending alien invasion. At the forefront of this endeavor was Dr. Emily Wilson, a brilliant young scientist whose groundbreaking work in advanced propulsion and energy systems had already caught the attention of the global community. Now she found herself at the heart of the most ambitious undertaking in human history. "We must move quickly," Dr. Wilson declared, her fingers flying across the holographic displays in her laboratory. "The Stellar Council will not hesitate to strike, and we must be ready to meet them with overwhelming force. Our survival depends on it." Alongside Dr. Wilson, a team of the world's finest engineers, technicians, and strategists worked tirelessly, driven by a shared purpose: to create the ultimate weapon in humanity's arsenal, the Retribution Force. From the deserts of the Middle East to the frozen tundras of the Arctic, research facilities and manufacturing hubs sprang to life, churning out advanced spacecraft, cutting-edge armaments, and state-of-the-art defensive systems. The global economy shifted its focus, funneling trillions of dollars into the war effort as humanity's collective will coalesce into a single, unstoppable juggernaut. In the midst of this frenetic activity, a new breed of military leaders emerged, seasoned commanders who had honed their skills in the crucible of regional conflicts. Among them was the grizzled veteran, Commander John Smith, a man whose tactical brilliance and unwavering determination had earned him the respect of his peers and the admiration of his troops. "We've faced tough odds before, but never quite like this," Smith admitted, his weathered face etched with a mixture of concern and resolve. "But make no mistake, my fellow soldiers, we will not go down without a fight. The Stellar Council may think they can simply waltz in and take what's ours, but they have no idea the hell they're about to unleash." Smith's words resonated with the gathered soldiers, inspiring them to redouble their efforts and hone their skills to a razor's edge. Across the world, military bases hummed with activity as recruits underwent intense training regimens, mastering the advanced weaponry and spacecraft that would form the backbone of the Retribution Force. As the days turned into weeks, the scale and sophistication of Earth's defensive preparations became increasingly evident. Vast fleets of sleek, high-tech spacecraft began to take shape, their hulls bristling with cutting-edge armaments. Underground bunkers and missile silos sprang up in strategic locations, their advanced countermeasures and defensive systems designed to repel even the most formidable alien onslaught. Yet, amidst the flurry of activity, a palpable sense of unease permeated the global psyche. The knowledge that the Stellar Council's invasion was imminent weighed heavily on the minds of the world's population, fueling a mix of fear, determination, and a fierce, unyielding resolve to protect their home. In the quiet moments, when the ceaseless din of construction and training gave way to a momentary stillness, Michael Jackson found himself reflecting on the gravity of the situation. He had been the harbinger of this impending calamity, the one who had dared to confront the Stellar Council, and raised the alarm. Now, he found himself at the heart of the global effort to defend humanity's future. "We've come so far, as a species," he mused, gazing out over the bustling research facility. "And now we stand on the precipice of a reckoning that will define our very existence. But I know, in the depths of my soul, that we will not falter. We will fight, with every fiber of our being, to protect the world we call home." With a renewed sense of purpose, Michael rejoined the throng of scientists and engineers, ready to lend his expertise to the creation of the Retribution force, humanity's last, best hope against the looming alien invasion. The vastness of space shimmered with a dark, unseen energy as the Stellar Council's massive armada emerged from the depths of the cosmos. Thousands of sleek alien vessels spread out across the void, their hulls gleaming with advanced technologies, their weapon systems primed and ready to unleash a devastating onslaught upon the unsuspecting planet below. On the surface of Earth, the Retribution force stood ready, its commanders scanning the skies with a mixture of trepidation and grim determination. Commander John Smith's weathered features hardened as the alien fleet became visible on the horizon, a vast, ominous cloud blotting out the stars. "All units, report in." Smith barked into his comm, his voice carrying a calm, authoritative tone that belied the tension coursing through his veins. One by one, the responses came, each squadron and division confirming their readiness to engage the enemy. "Sir, the enemy is deploying their forces," a young lieutenant reported, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. "They're moving to surround the planet, focusing their firepower on our key strategic locations." Smith's jaw tightened as he considered the situation. "Damn them. They're testing our defenses, trying to overwhelm us with sheer numbers. But we won't go down without a fight. All units, engage the enemy and hold the line at all costs." The skies erupted in a cacophony of weapons fire as the Retribution force launched its counterattack, its advanced spacecraft and armaments unleashing a torrent of destruction upon the invading alien vessels. Brilliant bursts of energy lanced through the void, colliding with the Stellar Council's shields in a dazzling display of power. Amidst the chaos, the human pilots maneuvered their craft with a deftness and agility that belied the Stellar Council's more rigid formulaic tactics. They wove between the enemy ships, targeting weak points in the alien defenses and exploiting every vulnerability they could find. "Stay focused, team." Captain Sarah Lee's voice crackled over the comm, her own spacecraft darting through the maelstrom of battle. "We've trained for this moment. Now, show these aliens what humanity is made of." The Retribution force's fighters surged forward, their weapons blazing as they unleashed a relentless barrage upon the Stellar Council's forces. Though the alien ships were larger and more heavily armed, the human pilots' superior adaptability and innovative thinking allowed them to hold their own against the overwhelming odds. Deep within the heart of the Stellar Council's command ship, the alien leaders watched the unfolding battle with growing unease. The human defenders were proving to be far more formidable than they had anticipated, their tactics and technologies disrupting the carefully orchestrated assault. "Impossible," growled the Vivarian delegate, his eyes narrowing in frustration. "How can these primitives stand against the might of the Stellar Council?" The Vosroth delegate let out a low, rumbling hiss. "They fight with a ferocity and desperation that we have not encountered before. We underestimated the tenacity of the human spirit." The Stellar Council's commander raised a clawed hand, silencing the dissenting voices. "Enough. Redouble our efforts. Bring the full weight of our armada to bear upon these upstart humans. They will be crushed, and their world will be ours." The order rippled through the Stellar Council's forces, and a new wave of ships surged forward, their weapons unleashing a devastating barrage upon the Retribution force's defenses. The human pilots fought with every ounce of their skill and courage, but the sheer overwhelming firepower began to take its toll, chipping away at their lines. "We can't hold them off much longer, sir," a young lieutenant shouted, his voice laced with desperation. "Our losses are mounting, and the reinforcements just keep coming." Commander Smith gritted his teeth, his mind racing as he weighed his options. The Stellar Council's invasion was proving to be far more formidable than he had anticipated, and the human defenders were being pushed to the brink of collapse. "All units, fall back to the secondary defensive positions," he ordered, his voice betraying a hint of reluctance. "We'll regroup and hit them again, harder this time. This is not over, not by a long shot." As the Retribution forces' battered fighters withdrew, the Stellar Council's forces surged forward, their weapons carving deep into the human defenses. But even in the face of this overwhelming onslaught, the people of Earth refused to surrender, their determination and resilience fueling a defiant counterattack that would echo through the stars. The Retribution forces' withdrawal was a tactical retreat, not a surrender. Regrouping in the face of the Stellar Council's relentless assault, Earth's defenders used the respite to refortify their positions and shore up their defenses. But the respite was short-lived, as the alien invaders, driven by a thirst for domination, pressed their advantage mercilessly. Wave after wave of Stellar Council ships descended upon the battered human forces, their firepower raining down from the skies in a devastating display of technological superiority. The losses among the Retribution force were staggering, as seasoned pilots and skilled commanders fell in the line of duty, their sacrifice forging an unbreakable bond of unity among their comrades. Yet, amidst the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged. Captain Sarah Lee, a brilliant strategist and a master of unconventional warfare, rallied her squadron, devising bold, innovative tactics to counter the alien invaders. "They think they've broken us," Lee declared, her eyes burning with a fierce determination. "But they underestimate the resilience of the human spirit. We will not go down without a fight. We will find their weaknesses and exploit them, no matter the cost." Inspired by Lee's words, the Retribution forces' pilots redoubled their efforts, pushing the boundaries of their craft and their skills to the limit. They dove through the alien formations, targeting the ship's vulnerable points with devastating precision, while their ground-based counterparts unleashed a withering barrage of missile strikes and energy weapons. The Stellar Council's forces, caught off guard by the ferocity of the human counterattack, began to falter. Their vaunted technological superiority was no match for the Retribution forces' adaptability and sheer determination. "How is this possible?" the Vosroth delegate roared, his clawed hands clenching the arms of his command chair. "We should be crushing them with ease." The Ivarian delegate's brow furrowed in consternation. "They fight with a desperation born of a will to survive. Their primitive emotions are fueling their resistance in ways we did not anticipate." Realizing the tide was turning, the Stellar Council's commanders made the fateful decision to escalate their offensive, deploying their most powerful superweapons in a last-ditch effort to break the human defenders. Massive energy beams lanced through the skies, decimating entire squadrons of Retribution force fighters. Devastating pulse weapons tore gaping holes in the human defensive lines, leaving the battered and weary troops reeling. "We can't hold out much longer, sir," a young lieutenant reported, his voice tinged with fear. "Their superweapons are tearing us apart. We need a miracle if we're going to survive this onslaught." Commander John Smith's weathered features betrayed the strain of the battle, but his resolve remained unshaken. "Then we'll have to give them one. All units, fall back to the inner defensive perimeter. Dr. Wilson, are you ready?" "Ready and waiting, Commander," came the confident reply. "We've been working around the clock to prepare a little surprise for our alien friends." As the Retribution force withdrew, the Stellar Council's forces surged forward, their confidence bolstered by the apparent collapse of the human defenses. But as they approached the inner perimeter, a series of powerful energy signatures erupted from the ground, catching the alien invaders by surprise. Massive electromagnetic pulses, cloaked by sophisticated stealth systems, swept through the Stellar Council's formations, overwhelming their ship systems and disabling their weapons. The invaders, caught in the throes of technological mayhem, found themselves helpless against the onslaught. "What is the meaning of this?" the Ivarian delegate shrieked, watching in horror as his fleet's devastating firepower was neutralized. How dare these humans defy the might of the Stellar Council? Dr. Wilson's voice, calm and measured, crackled over the Retribution Force's communications channel. You made a grave mistake in underestimating us, alien scum. This is just a taste of the innovation and ingenuity that humanity has to offer. We will not surrender our freedom without a fight. As the Stellar Council's forces struggled to regain control of their crippled ships, the Retribution Force launched a bold counterattack, unleashing a barrage of missiles and energy weapons that tore through the disoriented invaders. The human pilots, emboldened by their newfound advantage, fought with a ferocity that bordered on the primal, their determination fueled by a righteous fury. Slowly but surely, the tide began to turn in favor of the human defenders. The Stellar Council's forces, battered and disorganized, were forced to retreat, their devastating superweapons rendered useless against the Retribution Force's ingenious countermeasures. In the wake of the battle, a sense of cautious optimism spread through the ranks of the Retribution Force. They had weathered the initial onslaught, proven their mettle against the alien invaders. But they knew that the true test was yet to come, for the Stellar Council would not surrender its ambitions for conquest so easily. As the dust settled, Commander Smith and Dr. Wilson stood side by side, their gazes fixed on the retreating alien ships. "This is just the beginning," Smith said, his voice tinged with a mixture of pride and trepidation. "The real fight is yet to come." In the aftermath of the Retribution Force's hard-fought victory, a renewed sense of determination swept through the ranks of Earth's defenders. The alien invaders had been bloodied, their vaunted technological superiority compromised by the ingenuity and sheer grit of the human combatants. But the Stellar Council would not be deterred so easily. They would undoubtedly regroup and return with even greater force. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, General David Thompson, the charismatic commander of the Retribution Force, began to mobilize his troops for a bold counteroffensive. Time was of the essence, for the Stellar Council's next assault could come at any moment, and Earth's defenders needed to seize the initiative before their window of opportunity closed. "Soldiers of the Retribution Force," Thompson addressed his assembled troops, his voice carrying a weight of authority that commanded instant respect. "The battle we have just endured was but a prelude to the true test that lies ahead. The Stellar Council has tasted our resolve, and now they know that we will not go down without a fight. But we cannot rest on our laurels. We must strike back, and strike back hard, if we are to secure the future of our world." The troops erupted in a roar of affirmation, their fists pumping the air with unbridled enthusiasm. They knew that the stakes had never been higher, and they were more than ready to take the fight to the alien invaders. "Our scientists and engineers have been working tirelessly to develop new technologies and strategies to counter the Stellar Council's might," Thompson continued, gesturing to the display screens that flashed with schematics and tactical simulations. "We will use their innovations, combined with our own ingenuity and battlefield experience, to drive these invaders from our shores and reclaim our rightful place in the cosmos." As the general laid out the details of the counteroffensive, a sense of cautious optimism began to take hold among the Retribution Force's seasoned commanders. They had seen the power of the human spirit in action, and they knew that their troops were more than capable of rising to the challenge. Among them was Captain Sarah Lee, the brilliant strategist whose daring tactics had played a crucial role in the previous victory. Her keen intellect and adaptable approach had earned her the respect of her fellow officers, and now she was poised to put her skills to the ultimate test. "This is our chance to show the Stellar Council the true extent of our capabilities," Lee declared, her eyes burning with a steely determination. "We will overwhelm them with the full might of our technological prowess and the unbreakable resolve of our people. No matter the cost, we will prevail." The Retribution Force's counteroffensive began with a series of lightning strikes, targeting the Stellar Council's supply lines and communication networks. Sleek, high-tech spacecraft darted through the chaos of battle, their advanced stealth systems and precision-guided weaponry wreaking havoc among the invading forces. As the human forces pressed deeper into enemy territory, they encountered fierce resistance from the Stellar Council's elite units. The battles raged with a ferocity that echoed the very foundations of the Earth, as the two sides clashed in a desperate struggle for supremacy. Through it all, General Thompson remained a steadfast presence, his calm demeanor and unwavering leadership inspiring his troops to reach new heights of bravery and tactical brilliance. He knew that the fate of their world hung in the balance, and he was determined to lead his forces to victory, no matter the personal cost. In the thick of the fighting, a young lieutenant named Maria Hernandez distinguished herself with her quick thinking and unerring marksmanship. Her exploits soon became the stuff of legend, as she single-handedly turned the tide of several crucial engagements, her actions rallying her comrades to ever greater feats of heroism. We fight for our homes, our families, our very way of life. Hernandez's voice roared over the din of battle, her words echoing through the comm channels. The Stellar Council may have the numbers, but we have the spirit of free people who will not be subjugated. The Retribution Force's assault continued unabated, its momentum building with each hard-won victory. The Stellar Council's forces, battered and disorganized, were unable to mount an effective defense against the relentless onslaught of their human adversaries. As the battle raged on, the human casualties mounted, their losses a testament to the true cost of freedom. But the surviving members of the Retribution Force, driven by a shared sense of purpose and an unbreakable will to survive, refused to falter, their determination fueling their every action. In the end, the Retribution Force's counteroffensive had succeeded in disrupting the Stellar Council's operations, sowing chaos and discord within the invading forces. But the victory had come at a heavy price, and the human defenders knew that the true test was yet to come. As the dust settled, General Thompson surveyed the battlefield, his eyes reflecting the weight of the sacrifices made. "We have drawn first blood," he murmured, his voice tinged with a mixture of pride and sorrow. "But the fight is far from over. The Stellar Council will not give up easily, and we must be ready to meet their next assault with everything we have." The Retribution Force's bold counteroffensive had succeeded in disrupting the Stellar Council's invasion plans, sowing chaos and confusion within the alien ranks. But the human defenders knew that this was only a temporary respite. The Stellar Council would regroup, lick their wounds, and come back with even greater force, and this time they would be prepared. As the battered but resolute troops of the Retribution Force regrouped, General David Thompson knew that the time had come to take the fight directly to the heart of the enemy. The Stellar Council's homeworld, the seat of their power, loomed as the ultimate target, a prize that, if captured, could turn the tide of the war in humanity's favor. "Our counteroffensive has shaken the Stellar Council, but we cannot rest on our laurels," Thompson declared, his steely gaze sweeping across the assembled commanders. "The time has come to take the fight to their doorstep. We will lay siege to their homeworld, and we will not stop until their invasion force is crushed and their ambitions for conquest are shattered." The proposal was met with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The Retribution Force had already faced overwhelming odds and emerged victorious, but the prospect of assaulting the very heart of the Stellar Council's domain was a daunting one. The risks were immense, the potential for catastrophic losses all too real. Yet, as the strategic details were laid out, a sense of cautious optimism began to take hold. The human defenders had proven their mettle, their technological innovations, and adaptable tactics more than a match for the Stellar Council's vaunted military might. If they could strike at the enemy's core, they just might have a chance to deliver a decisive blow that could end the war once and for all. "We know the risks," Thompson acknowledged, his voice tinged with a mixture of gravity and determination. "But we also know that the fate of our world hangs in the balance. We cannot afford to hold back, not when the very survival of our species is at stake." The Retribution Force's commanders, their resolve hardened by the trials they had already endured, nodded in agreement. They would follow Thompson into the heart of the enemy's stronghold, no matter the cost. As the massive fleet of human spacecraft began its journey toward the Stellar Council's homeworld, Lieutenant Maria Hernandez found herself at the forefront of a daring infiltration team, tasked with breaching the enemy's defenses from within. The young officer's exploits had become the stuff of legend, and her comrades looked to her with a mixture of awe and trust. "This is it, team," Hernandez said, her voice steady and assured. "We've trained for this moment, and we know what's at stake. Stay focused, stay sharp, and remember, we're fighting for the future of our world." The infiltration team's mission was a perilous one, requiring them to navigate a labyrinth of heavily fortified checkpoints and impenetrable security measures. But Hernandez and her comrades were driven by an unbreakable determination, their every step guided by the knowledge that the fate of humanity rested on their shoulders. As the Retribution forces' assault on the Stellar Council's homeworld raged in the skies above, the infiltration team fought their way deeper into the enemy's stronghold, their progress marked by fierce skirmishes and narrow escapes. The alien defenders, sensing the gravity of the situation, unleashed the full might of their elite forces in a desperate attempt to stop the human invaders. But the Retribution forces' troops, their skills honed by the battles they had already endured, were more than a match for the Stellar Council's finest. Hernandez and her team fought with a ferocity that bordered on the primal, their weapons carving a path through the enemy's ranks as they pushed ever closer to their objective. At last, they stood before the inner sanctum of the Stellar Council's command center, the very heart of the Alien Alliance's power. The Ivarian delegate, his once implacable demeanor shaken by the humans' relentless assault, confronted the infiltration team, his eyes blazing with a mixture of fear and defiance. "You have come far, human scum," the Ivarian hissed, his clawed hands clenching into fists. "But your journey ends here. You cannot hope to defeat the might of the Stellar Council." Hernandez regarded the alien leader with a cool, unwavering gaze. "That's where you're wrong," she replied, her voice laced with a quiet determination. "We've come too far to turn back now. The fate of our world hangs in the balance, and we will not rest until your invasion is crushed, and your ambitions for conquest are reduced to ashes." The Ivarian's eyes narrowed, and he gestured to the ranks of elite guards that flanked him. "Then you will die here, like the rest of your pathetic species." As the battle erupted around them, Hernandez and her team fought with a ferocity born of desperation and righteous fury. They knew that the fate of the Retribution forces' assault, and the future of humanity itself, rested on their success. The stakes had never been higher, and they were determined to see this through, no matter the cost. The echoes of their struggle reverberated through the very foundations of the Stellar Council's citadel, as the human defenders fought to breach the heart of the Alien Alliance's power. The battle had reached a fever pitch, and the outcome would determine the fate of two worlds, one poised for domination, the other fighting for its very survival. The infiltration team, led by Lieutenant Maria Hernandez, had breached the inner sanctum of the Stellar Council's command center, facing off against the Ivarian delegate and his elite guard. The stakes had never been higher, as the fate of the Retribution forces' assault and the future of humanity itself hung in the balance. Hernandez and her comrades fought with a ferocity born of absolute desperation, their weapons blazing as they sought to overwhelm the Ivarian's formidable defenses. The alien leader, his once confident demeanor now tinged with a growing sense of unease, unleashed a barrage of devastating attacks, his elite guards forming an impenetrable wall around him. The battle raged on, the echoes of weapons fire, and the clash of metal against metal reverberating through the cavernous halls of the Stellar Council's citadel. Hernandez and her team were pushed to the brink, their numbers dwindling as they fought to maintain their foothold against the relentless onslaught. "We can't hold out much longer," a young soldier cried, his voice laced with a mixture of fear and determination. "There are too many of them, and we're running out of ammunition." Hernandez's jaw tightened, her mind racing as she searched for a way to turn the tide of the battle. She knew that they were the key to the Retribution Force's success, and that failure was not an option. "We've come too far to give up now," she declared, her eyes burning with a fierce resolve. "We fight for our homes, our families, our very way of life. We will not be broken by these alien tyrants." Inspired by Hernandez's words, the remaining members of the infiltration team redoubled their efforts, unleashing a withering barrage of fire that began to slowly wear down the Ivarians' defenses. The alien leader, sensing the shifting momentum, let out a guttural roar of rage, his clawed hands lashing out with a renewed fury. "Impossible," the Ivarian hissed, his eyes narrowing to slits. "How can these primitive humans stand against the might of the Stellar Council?" Hernandez's lips curled into a defiant grin. "We are not primitive alien scum. We are the guardians of our world, and we will not be conquered." As the battle reached its climax, the Retribution Force's assault on the Stellar Council's homeworld raged on in the skies above. The human spacecraft, their weapons blazing, tore through the alien defenses, slowly but surely carving a path toward the heart of the enemy's stronghold. Admiral Jessica Park, the brilliant strategist who had orchestrated the Retribution Force's counteroffensive, watched the unfolding battle with a mixture of pride and trepidation. She knew that the success of the infiltration team was crucial to the overall outcome of the conflict, and she silently willed them to prevail. "All units, push forward." Park's voice barked over the comm channels, her tone brooking no argument. "We must break through their defenses and link up with the infiltration team. The fate of our world hangs in the balance." The Retribution Force's ships surged ahead, their advanced weaponry carving deep into the Stellar Council's formidable defenses. Explosions rocked the alien vessels, their hulls crumbling under the relentless assault. As the battle raged on, the Stellar Council's leaders found themselves faced with a stark choice. The human defenders had proven to be far more resilient and determined than they had ever anticipated, and the prospect of defeat loomed ever larger. "We cannot allow these upstart humans to triumph," the Vosroth delegate roared, his clawed fists slamming against the command console. "We must unleash our full might, crush them utterly, and secure our victory." The Ivarian delegate, his attention divided between the conflict raging in the skies and the desperate struggle unfolding within the Citadel's walls, hesitated. He had seen the ferocity of the human defenders, the unbreakable spirit that fueled their resistance. And in that moment, a seed of doubt began to take root in his mind. "No," the Ivarian replied, his voice unusually soft. "We cannot afford to squander our resources in a futile gesture of defiance. If we are to emerge victorious, we must adapt. We must find a way to break the will of these stubborn humans." The Vosroth delegate's eyes widened in shock, his mandibles working furiously as he struggled to comprehend the Ivarian's words. "You would have us surrender, capitulate to these inferior beings?" The Ivarian's gaze hardened, his expression uncompromising. "I would have us survive. The Stellar Council has come too far, sacrificed too much, to be undone by the whims of a single species. We must find a way to coexist, or risk being consumed by the flames of our own ambition." As the Stellar Council's leadership grappled with this momentous decision, the fate of the infiltration team hung in the balance. Hernandez and her comrades fought on, their weapons depleted but their determination unbroken. They knew that the future of their world depended on their success, and they refused to give in to the relentless onslaught of the Ivarians' elite guard. The battle had reached a fever pitch, and the outcome would determine the course of the war, and the future of humanity itself. The Retribution Force's assault on the Stellar Council's homeworld had reached a critical juncture. In the skies above, the human spacecraft continued their relentless onslaught, their advanced weaponry carving deep into the alien defenses. But the fate of the entire operation hung in the balance, dependent on the success of the infiltration team led by Lieutenant Maria Hernandez. Hernandez and her battered comrades fought with every ounce of their strength, their weapons depleted but their determination unbroken. The Ivarian delegate and his elite guard pressed their attack, their formidable abilities and sophisticated technology pushing the human defenders to the brink. "We can't hold out much longer," a young soldier cried, his voice laced with desperation. "We need a miracle if we're going to survive this." Hernandez's mind raced as she weighed their dwindling options. They had come too far to surrender, and the fate of their world depended on their success. Gathering her remaining strength, she steeled her gaze and leveled her weapon at the Ivarian, her finger tightening on the trigger. "We are the miracle," she declared, her voice carrying a quiet resolve. "This ends here, alien scum. The Stellar Council's ambitions of conquest end today." As Hernandez unleashed a barrage of fire, the Ivarians' elite guards faltered, their once impenetrable defenses crumbling under the sheer ferocity of the human assault. The alien delegate, his eyes widening in shock, scrambled to regain control of the situation. But his efforts were in vain. "Impossible!" the Ivarian shrieked, his claws raking across the command console as he desperately sought a way to turn the tide. "How can this be happening?" Hernandez and her team pressed their advantage, their weapons blazing as they drove the Ivarian and his guards ever deeper into the Citadel's heart. The human defenders, their spirits buoyed by the knowledge that the fate of their world hung in the balance, fought with an intensity that bordered on the primal. In the skies above, the Retribution Force's assault reached its climactic moment. Admiral Jessica Park, her face etched with a mixture of determination and exhaustion, watched as her ships tore through the Stellar Council's defenses, their weapons unleashing a devastating barrage upon the alien vessels. "All units, push forward." Park's voice thundered over the comm channels, her words carrying a sense of urgency. "We must link up with the infiltration team and secure the Stellar Council's command center. The fate of our world depends on it." The human spacecraft surged ahead, their advanced engines propelling them ever closer to the Stellar Council's citadel. As they closed in on their objective, a massive energy surge rippled through the void, overwhelming the alien defenses and shattering their shields. "What is the meaning of this?" the Vosrath delegate cried, his clawed hand scrambling to regain control of the situation. "Our systems are collapsing." The Ivarian, his attention torn between the battle raging within the citadel and the chaos unfolding in the skies, let out a guttural roar of frustration. "The humans have found a way to neutralize our technological superiority. We must act, or all will be lost." Realizing the gravity of the situation, the Stellar Council's leadership found themselves at a crossroads. They had invested everything in their ambitions for conquest, only to have their carefully laid plans unraveled by the stubborn determination of the human defenders. And now, with the Retribution Force's assault closing in and the infiltration team breaching the very heart of their command structure, they were faced with a choice that would define the course of the war and the fate of their entire civilization. As the battle reached its crescendo, Hernandez and her team pressed their relentless assault, their weapons carving a path through the Ivarians' diminishing forces. The alien delegate, his once implacable demeanor shattered by the humans' unyielding determination, found himself cornered and outmatched. "You have won," the Ivarian growled, his voice laced with a grudging respect. "Your people have proven their worth, human. But know this, the Stellar Council will not go gentle into the night. We will regroup, we will adapt, and we will return to finish what we have started." Hernandez's eyes narrowed as she regarded the alien leader, her weapon trained on his chest. "That's where you're wrong, Ivarian. The Stellar Council's ambitions of conquest end here, today. Your forces have been broken, your will to fight shattered. You will never set foot on our world again." The Ivarian's eyes widened in a flash of defiant fury, but before he could react, Hernandez pulled the trigger, her weapon discharging a searing bolt of energy that seared through the alien's chest. The Ivarian let out a guttural, agonized cry as he crumpled to the ground, his life slipping away. In the wake of the Ivarian's demise, the Stellar Council's elite guards faltered, their resolve broken by the humans' relentless assault. Hernandez and her team pressed their advantage, driving the remaining alien forces from the Citadel's inner sanctum and securing control of the command center. As the Retribution Force's spacecraft breached the Stellar Council's defenses and linked up with the infiltration team, a cheer went up among the human defenders. The Stellar Council's invasion had been thwarted, their ambitions for conquest reduced to ashes. Earth had been saved, and humanity had proven its worth as a force to be reckoned with in the cosmos. In the aftermath of the battle, the Stellar Council's leadership found themselves facing a stark reality. Their grip on power had been shattered, their technological superiority rendered meaningless by the ingenuity and determination of the human defenders. They had no choice but to sue for peace, acknowledging the Retribution Force's victory and their own defeat. As the news of the Stellar Council's capitulation spread across Earth, a wave of jubilation and pride swept through the people. They had faced the greatest challenge in their history and emerged victorious, their resilience and strength of spirit proving to be the decisive factor in the conflict. For the Retribution Force, it was a bittersweet triumph, one that had been bought with the blood and sacrifice of their finest soldiers. But in the end, their triumph had secured the future of their world, and the generations to come would inherit the legacy of their courageous stand. As the human survivors, battered but unbroken, united in celebration, they knew that their journey was far from over. The Stellar Council had been defeated, but the path ahead would be fraught with new challenges and uncertainties. Yet, with the indomitable spirit that had carried them through the darkest of times, they were confident that they would continue to rise to the occasion, cementing humanity's place as a formidable force in the galaxy.